Hey team, welcome back to Rosspec. If you've been following along, you know I've got my 2024 Dark Horse that I've been putting against my 2021 Mark 1 to see which one gets to keep its spot in the garage. Today, we're heading to the drag strip to see who's the quickest on the quarter mile. Come on, let's get into it. My tests so far have included exhaust, which the wind went to the Dark Horse, and then I weighed the two, and unsurprisingly, the Mark 1 weighed lighter. After that, I went to the dyno. And in a shock twist, the Mark 1 actually put down more power at the hubs. I still believe that the Mark 1 was assisted by the fact that the bonnets were open and the Dark Horse at the time only had 1,300 kilometers on it. But the results are the results, so the Mark 1 is up 2-1. Today the Dark Horse can either level it up or the Mark 1 can start pulling a gap. The best way to run any comparative test is to minimise the variables. That's why I'm the dummy in the driving seat for every run. But in doing that, and doing it by myself, I couldn't actually get the two cars on the track at exactly the same day. I did however find a period where the drag strip ran 2 test and tune sessions 1 week apart. Luckily for me, the weather conditions were almost exactly the same on both nights. Then there's the fuel load. The easiest way to make sure that they both have the same amount of fuel on board was to fill them up just before I got to the track. At least that way they would have the same fuel on board, but it also means that they are carrying around too much and it will be affecting my times. Then there are the tyres. I 100% agree that a good burnout will make the tyres grip better for takeoff, but being street tyres, there's a very small window of getting this right. You're just as likely to do a really nice burnout and overheat the tyres, and as a result run an even slower time. So for these tests, I'm driving around the box and going no burnout. And if you don't have anyone to capture the smoky burnout, does it really happen? While we're talking about tyres, for both cars I kept the rear tyre pressure to a very streetable 32 psi. Time to put it in drag mode, turn on the launch control, pin the pedals and have the first run in the Mark 1. Not only did I dump the clutch, but I had a complete brain fart, shifting from first to second and lifted in the middle of a no-lift shift. The car did not like that at all. Definitely not doing that again. Time to try again. This time just keep the accelerator flat to the floor and let the no-lift shift do the work. While my brain keeps thinking, slip the clutch, I get too excited when the lights start to fall and I just dumped it again. But although the Monaro beside me was pulling like a freight train, I still got to the stripe first. But that was quicker than the first one, 13.7 at 109 mile an hour. Since I thought the traction control was bogging me on the start line, for the third run I decided to turn it off. This way the launch control would still hold the RPM, but I was hoping that it would skip off the line better. Unfortunately, that was not the case. It bogged down even harder. If you can dump the clutch at 3,000 RPM and not spin the wheels, it really shows how sticky the track naturally is. And then to top it off, I missed the gear at the end of the run. If it was still bogging down at 3,000 RPM, it was time to start bumping up that holding RPM. So I thought I'd give 4,000 RPM a try. Nope, that wasn't right either. Just ended up spinning the wheels on the line. Rubbish. As you can imagine, the time was horrendously slow, but it still got up to 106 miles per hour by the full track. Time to split the difference. 3,000 was too low, 4,000 was too high. How would 3,500 RPM go? It took off nicely, smallest amount of spinning on the line, and the whole run was good until I hit the limiter before shifting into fourth. And after all that, a 13.8 and 106 mile an hour again. Damn! Last run of the night. Time to repeat the last run, just don't hit the limiter again. I just didn't get off the line as well. I managed another 13.8, but this time at 108 mile an hour. With the Mark 1 run and done, it was time to have a go with the Dark Horse. The first run I tried to emulate the conditions I did with the Mark 1. Drag mode, launch control, starting with traction control on. And straight away it was already better than any time that I ran in the Mark 1. 13.6 at 109 mile an hour. That's it, I can pack up and go home. Just kidding. What surprised me is while I didn't look beforehand, I left the standard settings on the launch control. While the base Mark 1 setting was 3,000 RPM, the Dark Horse was only 2,500. Time to dial it up a notch. For the second run, I lifted the RPM to 3,000. But I got too excited, dumped the clutch, and ended with the worst axle tramp ever. (13.8 at 108 mile an hour). For the third run, I thought I'd try the same again. But it bogged down off the line. Then I hit the limiter between second and third. But I almost caught up to this Calais with another 13.8 at 108 mile an hour. After it still bogged on the line, I gave the launch control an extra 200 RPM. Look at that, for a fraction of a second I was in front of a full-blown drag car. With how loud it was beside me at the time, I couldn't even tell how good the run was. But it ended up being a 13.4 at 109 mile an hour. For the fifth run, I tried to do the same thing, only better. but it bogged off the line and I only managed a 13.7, but still 109 mile an hour. Then the final run of the night, last chance to put down a decent time. But no, bogged down again, and it was a 13.6 at 109. In the end, I was really lucky. To be able to take the Mark 1 out and do 6 runs in 3 hours is really good. And then the next week I got the same number of runs done in 2 hours. That was even after they closed the track for 20 minutes after an oil down. I ended up with the quickest time of 13.7 for the Mark 1 and 13.4 for the Dark Horse. And if you go all the way to 3 decimal places and average the 3 best times, there's still a 0.245 second difference between the two. I'm not going to argue with you, those times are slow for each car, but that was the best I could do running the cars under the same conditions. For reference, I ran the same test on my old boy's 21 GT with a 10R80 auto. While I only captured the draggy data and his car had around half a tank of fuel at the time, it showed that it was right around that Dark Horse mark. While the Mark 1 put out more power on the dyno, the Dark Horse was definitely quicker here on the track. Not only quicker, it also felt so much easier to do it. Just leave the line, bang some gears and you're done. Even though both cars have pretty similar powertrains, the Mark 1 felt more like a dance to get it ready to run. It's a real shame that the Mark 1 didn't get the 373 diff gears here in Australia. Biggest downside with the Dark Horse was the rev limiter. It felt like it was at a random point, so by the last few runs I was shifting at 7,000 RPM just to make sure I didn't hit it. Maybe that'll go away with more kilometers, but for now, that's the only thing I could fault the Dark Horse on. My plan was that now I had some baseline data, I wanted to run them back to back again, but this time on the same night with lower fuel and mess around with tyre pressures, etc. Unfortunately, before I could do that, I've taken the 2 cars out to do some circuit testing, and while I started the day with 2 cars, I only went home with 1.
Will attempt to make an emergency call.
With the Dark Horse win at the drag strip, the scores are tied up. There will be one winner after the track results, but there will also be one less than pristine Mustang. Will it be the same one? Don't forget to like and subscribe to see the conclusion, and remember, there's more to going fast than going fast. Catch you later.